Have you ever wondered how global terrorist networks are established and who might be behind them? It's a question that has haunted the minds of many, particularly in these turbulent times. This video aims to explore the allegations surrounding the formation of these complex networks. We'll take a journey into the past, tracing the roots of these entities back to their inception. Our objective is not to spread fear or conspiracy theories, but to promote critical thinking. By examining the evidence and exploring different perspectives, we aim to shed light on the often murky world of international politics and the shadowy operations that lie beneath the surface. We'll also look at the global response to these networks, scrutinizing the actions of world powers and questioning the efficacy of current measures. This exploration will be rigorous, thorough, and we hope, enlightening. Now let's delve into the history of such networks. The Cold War era was a hotbed for covert operations and clandestine activities. It was a time when the world was divided into two ideological camps, each vying for dominance and influence. But let's delve deeper into the activities of one of these camps, the Soviet Union, and the allegations surrounding its role in the training of terrorists for subversive activities. In the heart of the Cold War, the Soviet Union was a superpower, its influence stretching far beyond its borders. It was a time of heightened tensions and secret operations, with the Soviet Union allegedly at the forefront of an international effort to destabilize its ideological adversaries. The Soviet Union, it's been alleged, operated schools of terrorism, where individuals from all corners of the globe were trained in the art of subversion. These schools, hidden from the world, were said to be factories of chaos, producing well-trained agents ready to disrupt and dismantle. But why would the Soviet Union engage in such activities? The answer lies in the ideological motivations of the communists. The communist ideology, with its emphasis on a global workers' revolution, was seen by some as a threat to the established world order. This, coupled with the secretive nature of the Soviet regime, led to interpretations of their motivations as satanic. This interpretation paints the communists as a group hell-bent on global domination, willing to bring about destruction to achieve their ends. It suggests a vision of communists not as champions of the proletariat, but as orchestrators of chaos, using terrorism as a tool to bring about their desired world order. The Soviet Union, in this view, was not just a political entity. It was a symbol of a destructive force, a decaying nation of slaves, as some would say, that had learned nothing but destruction. The terror attack in Israel, among others, was alleged to have been planned in the Kremlin, further fueling these perceptions. But as we all know, the Soviet Union collapsed in the early 90s, its fall marking the end of the Cold War. One would think that this would have marked the end of the alleged activities we've discussed. However, the collapse of the Soviet Union didn't necessarily mean the end of these activities. In the aftermath of the Soviet Union's fall, the world was left with a power vacuum and a legacy of trained agents, their skills honed for subversion and disruption. The question then arises, what became of these agents? What became of the alleged schools of terrorism? Did they simply vanish, or did they evolve, adapt to the changing world? The collapse of the Soviet Union didn't necessarily mean the end of these activities. It's a chilling thought, isn't it? As we move into the next chapter of our exploration, we'll delve into these questions, examining the role of the Russian Federation in the post-Soviet era. But that, dear listeners, is a story for another time. With the fall of the Soviet Union, new power structures emerged. One of these was the Russian Federation, a nation that has been at the center of many discussions regarding global terrorism. As we delve into this topic, it's important to remember that these are allegations and that the truth can often be elusive. In the aftermath of the Soviet Union, the Russian Federation was left with a complex legacy. Accusations arose of the Federation's continued involvement in global terrorism, a carryover from the Soviet era. These allegations, while unproven, are persistent and widespread, fueling a narrative that paints the Federation as a decaying nation of slaves that has learned nothing but destruction. One such allegation points to Israel, where numerous acts of terrorism have occurred over the years. It is rumored that some of these attacks were not only sponsored but also planned by the Russian Federation. This claim, like many others, is shrouded in uncertainty, but it has been enough to raise eyebrows and deepen suspicions. But why would a nation, especially one as powerful as the Russian Federation, resort to such destructive tactics? Some theorize it's a form of control, a means to exert influence and power on the world stage. Others suggest it's a symptom of a decaying nation, a desperate attempt to hold on to relevance and power in a rapidly changing world. These allegations paint a picture of a nation that, rather than using its resources to build and improve, chooses destruction as its primary tool. This leads us to the concept of a decaying nation of slaves, a term used to describe a society that, instead of striving for progress and enlightenment, seems to have fallen into a cycle of destruction and despair. This phrase, a decaying nation of slaves, is a harsh indictment. It suggests a society that has learned nothing from its past, a society that has fallen into the trap of repeating its mistakes, a society that, instead of building a better future, seems hell-bent on tearing itself apart. But as we consider these claims, it's essential to remember that they are just that, claims. They're part of a complex narrative that involves power, politics, and history. They're a reminder of how the actions of a few can cast long shadows, how the specter of the past can continue to influence the present. In the end, understanding the role of the Russian Federation in the world today is no simple task. It's a journey that requires navigating a maze of rumors, half-truths, and allegations, a journey filled with more questions than answers. These allegations, if true, would paint a grim picture of the world stage. Yet, they also serve as a stark reminder of the complexities of global politics, the intertwining threads of power, influence, and history. And as we continue to unravel these threads, we might just get closer to understanding the true nature of the world we live in. The world watches as conflicts continue, but why is there no decisive action? Have you ever wondered why, despite the continuous cycle of wars, terror, and immense suffering, the world seems to just stand by? It's like watching a horror movie play out in real time with no one stepping in to yell cut. We hear the cries for help, we see the devastation, yet we remain for the most part, bystanders. Let's imagine for a moment a world where there's a global organization, a sort of international watchdog that could curb evil as soon as it arises. An organization that would not be swayed by political agendas, that wouldn't turn a blind eye to atrocities, regardless of where they are committed. This entity would be a beacon of hope, a symbol of justice, and a shield against the dark forces that threaten our collective peace and security. It would stand as a bulwark against those who seek to destabilize nations, to spread terror, and to inflict pain and suffering on innocent people. You might say, but we already have the United Nations, don't we? Yes, we do. But despite its noble intentions and numerous achievements, the UN has often found itself mired in bureaucracy, hindered by political maneuvering, and unable to act decisively in the face of grave threats to global security. And let's not forget the countless non-governmental organizations, the humanitarian groups, and the peacekeeping missions that work tirelessly to mitigate the impact of conflicts and provide aid to the affected populations. Yet despite their commendable efforts, they too are often caught in the crossfire of geopolitics, their impact limited by funding constraints and the whims of those in power. The harsh reality is that our world is complex, and the forces at play in global politics are often murky and intertwined. The lines between good and evil, right and wrong are not always clear-cut, and in this gray area the seeds of conflict, terror, and suffering continue to sprout. But what if we could change this? What if we could rally behind a truly global body, one that is impartial, that has the power to intervene decisively, and that is committed to upholding peace and justice at all costs? The idea is not without its challenges, of course. It would require an unprecedented level of international cooperation, a willingness to put aside national interests for the greater good, and most importantly, a shared commitment to uphold the principles of humanity, justice, and peace. Yet such an organization doesn't exist. Could it be that the current state of affairs benefits certain parties? Could it be that there are those who thrive on chaos, who profit from conflict, and who would rather stoke the flames of war than work towards lasting peace? It's a sobering thought, one that should prompt us all to question the status quo and to strive for a better, more just world. It's a somber thought, isn't it? As we draw to a close, it's worth revisiting the key points we've navigated through in this discourse. We've journeyed back in time, delving into the Soviet era, a time when, allegedly, schools of terrorism were busy training terrorists from around the globe for subversive activities. Fast forward to the present day, and we explored the role of the Russian Federation, purportedly crafting a global terrorist mafia. We examined how the Kremlin's actions, as claimed, have caused immeasurable suffering and led to countless wars. The world, it seems, has been standing by, watching this monstrous madness, as one country after another, one people after another is destroyed. And we ask the question, why? Why is this happening, and why isn't there a global organization capable of halting such evil as soon as it begins to take root? But it's not all doom and gloom. This journey has also been about the power of critical thinking, the importance of questioning the narratives we are given, and the role we can play in demanding transparency and accountability in international affairs. We must remember that history, current affairs, and future predictions are often shaped by those in power. It's crucial that we question, that we seek out multiple perspectives, that we strive for a more nuanced understanding of the world. It's easy to accept the world as it's presented to us. It's comfortable, it's convenient, but it's also dangerous. As we've seen, unchecked power can lead to unimaginable suffering. So, let's not stand by. Let's not be passive observers. Let's educate ourselves, let's question, let's demand accountability. We can't single-handedly stop wars or prevent acts of terrorism, but we can strive for understanding, for empathy, for justice. It's up to us to question, to learn, and to demand a safer, more just world. As we conclude, remember that knowledge is power. It is our responsibility to remain informed, to challenge narratives, and to question the status quo. The world of global security and international politics is a complex web of intertwined interests and actions. We must strive to understand it better, to discern fact from fiction, to see past the headlines and delve into the heart of the matter. Let's not just be passive consumers of news. Let's be active participants in our global community. Ask questions, seek out diverse sources, engage in discussions. Remember, every conversation you have, every article you read, every question you ask, adds to your understanding of the world. It's not just about knowing, it's about understanding. It's about moving from passive acceptance to active engagement. It's about using that knowledge to make informed decisions, to influence policy, and to demand accountability. Together we can make a difference. Stay informed, stay vigilant, and stay safe.